G'day, welcome back to RC Model Reviews. Today I'm looking at these, the little PlayStation style radio transmitters that have become quite popular. There's a lot of them around the various price points. They tend to be reasonably cheap. And I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, if you've already got a radio that's working fine, you might even have an old Tyrannus like me, or I don't know, Radiomaster, a jumper, proper T16, T18 radio, why would you spend more money and buy one of these? Is there a benefit to them? Is there something about them that's compelling? And why, for example, have I made this my daily drive? When I've got so many radios you wouldn't believe, but this is my daily drive. What is it about this radio that makes it stand out for me? Well, we'll put these on the bench now. I think we'll have a look and I'll go through the various radios, the ones that I'm looking at, the ones that I have, the only ones I can compare are the ones that I have. So if you're a manufacturer or a retailer and you want me to look at your radio, send it in to me and I'll add it to the list, and we'll do another roundup in a month or so's time, and I'll get some feedback from you as to what you think of these radios, because this is something that I'm one point of view. There's lots of you out there. You can contribute to the value that a video like this has by going to the comments and telling me and others about your experience. But before we do that, let's look at today's t-shirt. Look at this. Someone sent me this t-shirt. There we go. Can you see that? And they even sent the right size, which is brilliant. So remember the deal. You send the t-shirt. If it's not offensive, I'll wear it. Dozens of people will get to see it on my manly chest, and hopefully you'll get some benefit out of that. So let's go over to the bench now, take a look at these radios. So here are the candidates for this PlayStation-like transmitter shootout. These are the only ones I have. So these are the ones I'm looking at and doing some comparisons, hopefully giving you some insight. If you want to choose one of these radios, buy one of these radios, which one might be best for you. But basically they all work as advertised on the box. I've found no real issues with any of them. So it doesn't matter what you buy, you're probably not going to regret the purchasing decision. But let's take a look at them one by one. First of all, we'll look at one of my two daily drives. That's the jumper Tealight. This radio, the number of reasons I like it. First of all, it's a full OpenTX implementation. So when we turn this on, we see the typical OpenTX screens. Below that screen, although that LCD is very small, it's very, very legible, even in sunlight. Backlit, fantastic. And this radio fits in your hands nicely. It has a single 18650 cell in the back, so you can take a spare battery to the field, and if it goes flat, you don't need to recharge it. You just change the battery. And mind you, doing this with the camera, getting this lined up is not that easy. Making me look stupid now, isn't it? Anyway, you don't have to change the battery if you don't want to, and really, there we go, just line it up. I noticed when I got it that the battery contacts didn't actually make connections, so I had to bend them out. That was the only flaw I found in this radio. Now, it has a 2-position switch there, 2-position there, 3-position, 3-position. So that's your switch setup. There are no sliders or anything else, but it does have trim levers. Look, it's got trim levers for the 4 main axes, and that's really important if you're flying something like a Bixler or a Super Easy or a Timber or something that doesn't have a flight controller, and you want to trim it in the air. All your old traditional fixed wing models especially, these trim levers are extremely valuable because none of the other radios on the bench here have trim levers. And that, I think, is a big drawback, because although multi-rotors are very popular and everyone flies drones, it's nice to have a radio you can use with fixed wing, and this really does suit anyone that wants to fly fixed wing that doesn't have a flight controller, and you need to be able to trim it in the air. So again, this is my daily drive. Most of my new models are going on this because it has everything I want. It's small, it's convenient. I don't have to worry about the battery going flat at the field. Hey ho, what's not to like? It's also multi-protocol. It binds to just about everything I've got. Woohoo, fantastic. Now, it is 2.4 gigahertz, that's all. It doesn't do 900 or 868 or anything else. And one thing that I'm not sure about is this coating, and it's got this kind of rubberized coating on it. I've seen this rubberized coating used on a number of things. The last thing I had this on was my Aomai Commander goggles, and it was great for about 2 or 3 years, and then it just went sticky. It was like suddenly it absorbed moisture or something, and instead of being smooth to touch, it stuck. It was like someone had put sellotape on there. It was awful. I had to wipe it off with solvent. I'm hoping this doesn't go the same way, but I fear that it might. Also, I noticed that it's a fairly thin coating, and there are areas where it's wearing through, leaving shiny spots. So it's going to look pretty tatty in another year's time, but it's not going to affect the operation. So even if I do have to wipe it down with solvent and have to remember what the buttons do, because the labels will come off too, it's still a damn good little radio, and I love it because the sticks are very light. I love the light sticks. Now, I have, as you know, tremors, problems with shaky hands, and fighting a spring makes my tremors far more obvious. So the lighter the springs, the smoother I can fly. And let's face it, the way I fly, the sticks are never at neutral at any time anyway. I'm always all over the place. But I love the sticks in this. They're very light, very light. And so yeah, daily drive for 2.4 gigahertz. And then we come down to the Tango2. Everyone knows the Tango2. It is not quite the same form factor as the others, but it is still the PlayStation type form factor. It's got Crossfire built in, which works really well. I do like Crossfire. It gives me plenty of robust signal in areas where 2.4 will give me a failsafe. So that's really important. Now it runs a version of OpenTX, so it's very familiar, but as I say, no trims on here. It does have some interesting differences in terms of the switches. It has two push button switches like this, which latch in the down position. And these are really great. I love this for arming because you're not going to bump that. You're not going to bump it and accidentally arm your quad. So that makes very positive arming, disarming. And when I'm flying, it's easy to hit disarm there. I don't have to fumble for a switch. It's right under my index finger, so that's great. 3 position switches here for flight modes or whatever you want to do, and a couple of momentary contacts on the back. Now, with OpenTX, of course, you could set this up so the momentary contact, you could set your trims and whatever, but it's a lot of faffing around. Much easier to have little levers if you intend to do a lot of fixed wing flying without flight controllers. So I use this pretty much exclusively for multirotors, not for fixed wing. Now let's look at the Radiomaster offerings. Now, this is the Radiomaster T8, says it on the dial. If I illuminates even, look, T8, there we go, it says it there. It is again a full OpenTX radio, so anything you can do with your other OpenTX radios you can do with this. It's really nice. It has this LCD screen which also folds down. I'll show you more on that in a moment. So this is it's multi-protocol. This is multi-protocol, so you can, like the jumper, you can control a raft of different models on 2.4 gigahertz. The sticks look very nice with the little sort of silvered ring around them. The springs are a lot heavier, which is why I haven't been using this as my daily drive. The springs are really, really heavy. I'm going to lighten them off if I can, but hopefully they'll accept lighter springs and I'll feel happier about that. One of the big bonuses of this radio is it's a full OpenTX, so you can use the LCD, set your models up, and then you can either fold it down like that if you're carrying it, so put it in your backpack. This is going to protect the sticks as well as the screen. It's fantastic if you just want to throw it in your backpack, and it's one of the beauties of these small radios. The small form factor means you can just throw them in your backpack when you want to. But if you don't want to do that, you can actually take this off. This whole module simply unclips from the back like that. You can put it safely away somewhere, and then you're only taking this out, because once you've set up a model, if you don't need to change models at the field, hey, this is perfect. It's less to carry, less to lose. It's really good. Now, it doesn't have a replaceable battery as such. Just notice, did that make a noise? It rattles. This one rattles. I think we'll have a look inside. But yeah, it's got a built-in battery, not replaceable through a little hatch, which is a little bit unfortunate. No trim levers, as I say. Has the same switch setup as the jumper. You've got two 2 positions, 2 3 positions. There you go. Battery level, even if you don't have the LCD connected, is measured by this on the front. You can see you've got, in this case, I've got 3/5 of my battery, 60% of my battery left. So that's kind of cool. You don't need that LCD screen. And so this is a really good radio if you're into multirotors or aircraft with a flight controller. Again, multi-protocol options are available in this radio. Really good. Now, this is the newest release from Jumper. It's really, really interesting because it's super, super cheap. 40 bucks, 40 bucks. And you might think, well, it's just that without the screen, isn't it? Well, no, it's not actually, because if we look carefully on the back of this, you'll see there are a row of contacts along here where we plug our LCD screen into. On this one, it has a little cover. If we take that off, there's a whole lot of nothing. This is basically a dumb radio. I'm not saying it's a stupid radio, but it is not a very intelligent radio. It doesn't have OpenTX. It doesn't have all the features that this radio has, being able to set up individual models and assign curves and so forth. This is basically 4 sticks, 2 switches, and a radio transmitter. That's all you've got in here. And that is all you need a lot of the time. For example, if you do a lot of simulator work at home, why waste a radio like this and have to take it to and from? Well, you could just buy one of these for 40 bucks and use it solely for simulator work, because you've got the USB-C up the top here. If I can open the little hatch, there we go, USB-C, and plug it into your computer, away you go. But similarly, if you've got a lot of small quads, you might want to use this going to the park. Take this, you don't have to worry about losing it. 40 bucks. Who gives a damn? You'll probably pay more in gasoline getting to the flying field than it costs to buy this radio. So it's a really good Uber budget entry. It takes us back to the old days a long while when we didn't have all these fancy OpenTX features. So it is an option. You don't have to buy it, but in some cases, this may be a really, really effective option if you just want to have a second radio that you want to use, take it to risky places, and not have to worry about it. So it'll bind with D8 or D16 Free Sky Protocol receivers. It's got a little bind button in the back there. Has the same built-in battery, I think, as this one, so you can't change the battery at the field. No trim levers, and a little bit concerning perhaps is when I set up a flight controller, I tend to use the sub-trims on my radios to make sure that the 0 on the sticks exactly matches the 1500 point on the flight controller. So I can then run very low deadband and get nice positive control. With this, there's no way to change the center point. So if the timing of this transmitter is slightly out compared to your flight controller, you may find you have to broaden the deadband or add a lot of expo to your flight controller to avoid drift. So something to consider. I haven't tried it yet. This only came in the other day, so I haven't actually flown anything with this yet, but I will. I'll set up something probably like my Tiny Hawk and a few others, so I can just throw it. You can throw this in your backpack, no problem. And even if you do break it, who gives a damn? You can just go and buy another one. So that's the latest offering from Radiomaster. And these are the 4 radios that I think are worth looking at if you want to get away from the standard large form transmitter. Now, it's worth noting that Radiomaster have also provided a little case, ding ding, because one of the nice things, or one of the worrying things about throwing stuff in your backpack is it can get broken pretty damn easily. Not so bad, as I say, if you've got the, which one is it? I can't even tell which is which. It's not so bad if you've got the T8 or the T8 Pro, where this little LCD, actually it does a good job of protecting the sticks by folding down there when you throw it in your pack. It's kind of good. But with the standard radio, like this for instance, the sticks are in the way, switches are a little exposed. So having a little case like this is kind of cool. And here it is. This is the, I'll put it in here. Although I'm I guess it's a fairly universal case. I'd prefer to actually see something with nice foam cutouts, so it's really well held, and so that when it's bouncing around, these sticks aren't banging against the top. Although there's foam in here, it'd be nice if there was something just, because I mean, that's still bouncing around a fair bit. I'd like a transmitter case to provide more protection than that. But hey, it's better than nothing. You've got room in here for anything else you might want to throw in. It's a nice little case for that. But again, the beauty of this is it's so damn small. Once you put it in a case, it becomes big and bulky like a regular transmitter. So this, if you don't need compactness, this is great. But if you want to be compact, just get the radio. Just throw it in your case, in your backpack, and if you break it, just buy another one. Well, that's what I reckon. So that's a little bit of a roundup here. Choice is up to you, but I think you'd be happy with any of these radios, bearing in mind the limitations that go around, for instance, not having trim levers and so forth. And I'd say if you've got questions, go to the commenty bit or the questiony bit on this video, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's make it all look pretty again for the thumbnail. I'll do my best to answer those questions. And if you've got any of these radios, tell us what you've experienced. Have you had problems? What works, what doesn't? Because your experience can contribute to the pool of knowledge that other people might want to look at before they make their own decisions. So there we go. That's just a little something, stuff I got from Radiomaster and the other radios that I use, and the fact that I'm pretty happy with all of them, although they all have their problems. There you go, folks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.